Hello and welcome back to another day in the life. Today I'm going to be talking about my experience as I built these outdoor garden shelves. So let's get into it. Okay, so these shelves are built around traditional stair geometry. So here, me and mostly my dad outlined the stair stringers. And here's what it looks like. And so I'm going to be clamping this board to the sawhorse. Sorry for the shaky video. I decided for some reason to put the camera on a piece of wood that I was working on. Don't do that. That's not a very good idea. Anyway, so I'm clamping this board to the piece of wood so it won't shift around while I'm cutting it. And because of the circular shape of the circular saw, I decided to use the jigsaw to finish out the cutouts. After the first stringer was done, I used it as a stencil to cut out the second one. At this point, I clamped the two stringers together so I could sand down their faces evenly. For major cracks and splits, I used sawdust and wood glue to fill in these cracks and let it dry overnight. For now, I'm going to be shifting my attention to the individual boards that will be making up the shelves, and I'm using this half-barrel planter as a stop so that all of them are consistent. In addition to cutting the shelves, I also cut out the legs and the brace that will be holding them together. At this point, this was a very frustrating but important process, and this was drilling the countersink as well as the pilot holes for the bolts. These pilot holes went all the way through the stringers into the legs, as well as I did the brace that will hold the legs together. Now that everything's all cut and the holes are made, it is now time to sand everything down and vacuum up all the dust before staining. For staining, I spread out the boards on a plastic cloth and began to apply the stain. Halfway through, I then flipped over the boards and did the other side, so the whole thing was going to be done by the next day. Alright, so it's the next day, the chickens are out, the cat's on the cardboard, and I have some rhubarb strawberry soda. Now let's get to putting this thing together. The next morning I noticed there was holes in the wrong spot of the legs that I had accidentally drilled, so I'm going to fill it with some wood glue and sawdust again, and then make new ones. So you may be wondering what stain I'm using, and I'm using Preservawood Semi-Transparent Outdoor Penetrating Oil Stain and Sealer. I chose this because it's an easy, quick, one-coat application, and it will protect the wood for a while adding some extra color. For the fasteners, I wanted to paint them black because I wanted to add some extra personalization and color to the project. At first I was individually painting these, but then I just lined them up and spray painted them all at one time. This was much easier, but I was running out of paint. So for some reason, I decided to turn the way I was painting towards the boards that were already stained. This caused them to get paint splatters all over them. At least these boards were for this individual shelves, so I was able to just turn them over and have a fresh side. This was very frustrating because you can't restain over these marks like you would with paint. After painting the bolts and apparently the wood, I did the very difficult process of putting together the first few sides. After having difficulty making the legs straight, I moved to a flat surface to help fix the problem, but it turned out that the brace board was slightly warped, making the legs not in line with each other. After working with that for a while, I tried to find my deck board spacers, but I couldn't find them, so I had to improvise with shims. At this point, I'm now putting down the boards for the shelves. So after touching with the paint on the bolts and sanding around the screws, I had finished. I wish I had some plants that I could have put on here to show what it was like with plants, but I did not. So I'm pretty happy with this otherwise, even with all the setbacks I have had. Anyways, I hope you liked the video. Make a comment about something that you noticed or had a question about, and thanks for watching.